So I was writing a bit up for my overall review of Black Ops 7 today when Treyarch announced a major change accessing some content in Black Ops 7. Endgame, the new campaign extension that is a main focal point, a direct learning of DMZ and Modern Warfare Zombies with progression, camo challenges, 100%er challenges and all, it was previously locked off until you completed the campaign, right? Or at least until one person in your party completed that is. Now, this would require you or someone you knew to sit through nearly 5 to 6 hours of gameplay for the co-op campaign that frankly, I don't think would be worth your time, but seems like even Treyarch got that memo saying today, we've seen an awesome response to Endgame from players who've already been dropping in, so we're making it available to everyone in Black Ops 7 starting Friday, November 21st. Team up with other players to complete objectives, increase your power, earn unique weapon camos, and take on new threats across the entirety of Avalon. Keep pushing into escalating zones of difficulty and exfil safely to maintain your combat rating and live another day. If you've already completed the co-op campaign to unlock Endgame, we're sending additional rewards your way. Players who've already gained access to Endgame before it's unlocked for everyone on Friday will receive 3 1-hour double XP tokens, 3 1-hour double weapon XP tokens, and 3 1-hour double battle pass XP tokens, along with 3 perkaholic gobblegums for zombies. These are on top of the unique rewards unlocked throughout the co-op campaign, as well as global XP and dedicated camo tracks. Now, being realistic, I don't think they were ever going to keep this thing locked for too long, just for accessibility reasons. Like, one of your big marketed portions of the game was Endgame, where you have all this progression, you have content via camos and things like that, you have challenges for 100%er that are all locked behind there. So that's a lot of stuff for players to engage with, so I don't think that they would take the whole year as their plan to be like, no, you gotta play campaign to get that. But a week after launch does seem rather quick, right? Now that said, I do have a few thoughts on this. I have quite a bit to say about Black Ops 7's campaign as a story and lore nerd, despite not really getting a chance to talk about it much, but it's something. The rest of this video, honestly, probably just my campaign take and thoughts on that here. If I decide to do a review video for Black Ops 7 as a whole still, it'll be much less focused on campaign after this one because I genuinely think my least favorite part about this game is campaign. But if I decide to make it, it'll be a shorter segment there, but also it kind of feels weird to drop another review after an initial review, if that makes sense. So I don't know, we'll see where things go with this. But a few disclaimers right up front. Spoilers are likely unavoidable in this. We're going to be talking about things attempting at a top level, so like not to try and spoil things. Like I don't have the intention of being like, here's the ending. Like I don't want to ruin that for anybody, though there's really not much to ruin. But also it's just not possible in some cases to avoid some of this stuff we're going to talk about. Second, this is only for the campaign. Again, totally honest, I've been a bit stretched thin from the Call of Duty launch perspective here with this, also covering Arc Raiders, Battlefield 6 still, and as such, I was still working on that overall review video, but I felt like this was a good segue to just talk about campaign with the announcement that was made today, so we're going to go through there. Let's start out with the pros, because I like to think I'm a positive person here, so credit where credit is due in some areas. Pros, you got progression. You can rank up overall in it. You can level up weapons in a PvE element here with this if you want to just do the story and learn a bit more about what's happening within the Black Ops universe. And number 2, the co-op was fun with friends. Playing with friends, making dumb jokes the whole time, doing the most outlandish, stupid things to either try and troll friends or be like, oh, we can do that as a sort of aha moment because someone else is doing a mission objective or something. Like it was fun, but that's about all I really liked about the campaign. Let's talk firstly about gameplay elements, because I feel like there's a little less to talk about in gameplay elements than there is to like just the overall aesthetic and general coherence of the storyline itself. But gameplay elements that I had an issue with, I did not like that it was always online. You cannot pause even if you're playing solo. Like, well, actually, for one, going back to the fundamentals there of this, if you play solo, you don't get any AI teammates, which I thought was rather interesting considering it's supposed to be a whole unit that you're commanding at this point. So you didn't get any help if you played solo. If you played in a squad or just solo, there was no availability to pause the game at any point there. Like my squad was legitimately having to, if somebody had to go to the bathroom or something, they were like, yo, let's pause right here. Let's just not move. Everybody stay in this one spot. And then we kind of had to work around that. Just something that in 2025 you shouldn't have to deal with. I also saw, because of this, other people joining other people's campaigns, and I even had a situation where I did see voices in game chat outside of my squad at one point, which I thought was odd. And then also being on the online, if you crash, you're kind of out of luck, like completely. I've seen some people say they lost like entire progression of the campaign, they lost a mission or two, but again, you shouldn't have to deal with that in 2025. Being that it's an open world campaign as well, it was a choice. I know that there, of course, was a lot of stuff that was A to B in terms of some set pieces here, but like in both that and then also with the open world part, it still felt, no matter how you looked at it, to me at least, hollow and like empty. Especially like in the open world stuff. The one mission that comes back to me is when you're like trying to track down the bodies at first here. You have to go through that whole mission and it's like just interacting with like 2 or 3 things at given checkpoints out of an entire world that like it's just so much set piece not used for anything that it just felt empty by comparison, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a great way to put it. And then another thing that really bothered me about the gameplay was not everything needs a boss fight. We ended up seeing multiple boss fights within the Black Ops 7 campaign that I think for the most part just really didn't serve a whole ton of purpose to the gameplay itself, nor the story, which that's a whole section we'll touch on in a second because the story was all over the place. But like, it's just one of those things that felt forced, that like they didn't know how to resolve the ending of a mission here or move into the next one. So they're like, oh, this giant checkpoint of gameplay, this boss you have to kill, because it's such a prolonged fight, you'll know that that's the end of the mission. Like, that's what it kind of felt like to me, and for that, it felt gimmicky, it felt cheap in that aspect, and I wasn't a fan. But talking story, because we did mention about this was where it was all over the place for me. And again, as a story and lore nerd here, this is one of those things I don't get to talk about, maybe like once a year in videos like this, but they committed a few cardinal sins in this campaign for me. You can tell the game was either cobbled together for a campaign, that was reported for a while, but at the same time, it's like a telltale sign of the last couple of campaigns that I have major gripes with. I think this one is more akin mostly to Vanguard's in some of what it does, and unfortunately puts that just by comparison in a bottom 3 campaign for me. My problem with Vanguard for me, it told across a 6-hour campaign, maybe 40 minutes of like, this is the main plot of the story, where everything else honestly was pointless backstory filler stuff. And I get that it was, again, probably to fill time. You needed to ship something here as a third mode. But when you spend so much time trying to build the backstories or this connection to campaign characters that it's forced, and not why you should be invested in them and their quest in the story currently, it's equally as bad for a connection with the player as no backstory at all. Narratively, I feel like building a connection with a character is great, but it also is insanely important to have stakes to connect that player to the story. Otherwise, you're just not getting both of those things here. You're only getting one avenue, i.e., why is the story building? Why are we building to this climax and then have this resolution if there is any? It felt like with Black Ops 7, a ton of nostalgia bait, like an overabundance in reliance on nostalgia bait. Like, you played through Nicaragua, you played through Angola, you played through Vorkuta, you played through LA in 2025, all in prior Black Ops campaigns, all places that we'd been before. So like, why are we going back to those so specifically? All in the name of feeling a gameplay loop? I mean, I get you're on borrowed time. This campaign likely did not have the resources as reported, but like, it was just far too much filler. When half of the game is replaying classic missions in a hallucinogenic state, I don't think that that's new, good, or innovative in like any way you can try and spin it. We could have been building the stakes for what the story could have been that we'll touch on in a second, but instead we went through this backstory of missions for stuff we've already relived, and for a lot of people that are deeply rooted in the Black Ops lore, stuff that you've already known about. So like, just for the sake of filling time or to roam around Avalon for minuscule parts of the story, it didn't really make much sense to me. And again, that comes back then to my next topic, where zero build-up or attachment to the story. Twice now with the last 2 campaigns, and listen, I liked for the most part Black Ops 6's campaign, but it's also guilty of this here. Twice in the last 2 campaigns, you've had a really, really cool potential where the storyline could go, ultimately leading to the Cradle being that sort of through line as the big bad element you're going up against, trying to kind of be like a Nova 6 2.0 in a sense. But like, there's just no explanation for the who, what, and why of it all. Like, why in Black Ops 6 should we see Hero as the bad guy? Her backstory is only dropped on us late into the story, and it's kind of just like an information dump. And then in Black Ops 7, you have Kagan and Menendez, which, speaking of, before we go off on the Kagan tangent here, I'm so frustrated and annoyed with the Menendez thing on multiple levels. Like, you flaunt him as this he's back marketing thing, yet you learn in like the 3rd mission he's an AI deepfake. Like, I get that was probably the most obvious plot twist, and like that was one of the big rumors from the very beginning, but it was so poorly done. You introduce him as this big bad guy in the 1st mission and then fight him in the 1.5, if that's still like the same mission, or like the 2nd mission. I honestly don't know how they broke up the missions without looking at the tiles of everything this year, but like, You fight him in the first or second mission, the way everything ties together, just, it didn't even seem like there was 11 missions in the campaign. Maybe like 4 to 5 long ones, and Menendez served absolutely zero purpose for that, despite being a main focal point of your marketing. But again, then, like Kagan, there was zero attachment here, no reason to feel strongly towards that character. I mean, straight up from the beginning, if you watch that introductory cutscene, as soon as you boot up Black Ops 7, Kagan is on that sort of newscast where she's talking to the anchor, talking about what's happening in the world, and then literally like 20 seconds later, they do the stereotypical name recognition with a bad guy where her name turns to red in the subtitles. So like from the very beginning, you're like, oh, okay. Cool. But like her whole thing in the end was, we're going to hurt people so we can offer them help and profit off them. But like that in and of itself is kind of cliche, but whatever. But it wasn't expanded upon at all. Like you have this whole marketing plot of the guild and everything like that. Even the first things that we saw teased about Black Ops 7 was a better world tomorrow, today, or whatever it was. But like, how do you lay the groundwork of this plan and not actually play through with any of the fallout of that, or even enact it? Like, you could have easily had JSOC and Mason and co going through and trying to stop all of these different attacks that could be happening, knowing that in the back of your mind, like, oh, the guild is behind this, it's false flag operations, we got to stop them as they're happening. No, instead, you're literally in a hallucinogenic state for 75% of the campaign. Like, yes, you go to Avalon, you wake up out of that trance, you're like, how'd I get here? But like, it could have been done so much better in that sense. Like, how are we supposed to take a bad guy seriously when their sinister plan can't even get past the test phase? Like, the first mission, their big bad bioweapon broke containment, and that's what led to the sort of rest of the campaign. And also, like, why the cradle? This is 2 games now that do not answer why it was enacted in the first place. Still, zero issues. Unless I'm, as a story nerd, just missing, like, some finite piece of detail or, like, my memory because I'm so swamped with stuff the last 3 weeks that I'm just drawing a blank. It just is crazy to me that you have this really cool potential, again, of, like, a Nova 6 2.0, but we don't get, from the very beginning in Black Ops 6, any real reason as to why it's a thing, why there's no backstory, like... It again just doesn't get you invested in the way that we've seen stuff in the past. And I'll give it this, like, at least it didn't pull a Black Ops 3 with Nova 6 just being tossed in there at the end of that campaign, randomly, and name-dropping Menendez that ultimately led nowhere but was the only sort of links between those 2 games. But it still just felt shallow and serves as a link, but with minimal depth to it to me. I get that in Black Ops 7, it's used to create that false flag spark, to enact the, oh, the guild is coming to save you, creating a problem and then offering a solution. But, like, again, there's just no depth to it. I'm talking like, why and how is this still a thing, dating back to Pantheon and Black Ops 6's campaign? There's so much lore that was left on the table there that, well, I mean, that back-to-back, I didn't mind Black Ops 6's campaign, but now putting them together, like the Black Ops 6 and 7 package as a whole, it opens more plot holes for me that it kind of even devalues Black Ops 6's campaign a bit. Now, without ranting for too long here with this, let's talk about an overall rating. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being literally unplayable, broken and crashing experiences all around, to 10 being a perfect, literal god tier game, like, to me, there's always room for improvement, so I'm not sure if I've even ever personally scored something a 10 out of 10, maybe like 1 or 2 games in my entire gaming history. I think that I'd put this at a 3 out of 10, if I'm generous, a 3.5. Not a 1 out of 10 because, like I said, it was technically playable, and not a 2 out of 10 because I still rank Vanguard and that campaign lower, but it's a bottom 3 COD campaign for me easily. Gameplay was shallow, it was more of a filler than anything else, I think, and honestly, I think that if you did just Endgame as your campaign mode, putting like sort of story beats here and there, cutscenes to discover, intel around the world, pulling a Black Ops 4 situation with no dedicated campaign, I do think that it would be better received. And, like, sincerely, like, with minimal time in Endgame so far, I don't think that I'd even mind if it was just this open world PvE thing to learn lore bits and story. Like, I do think that the investment in the infrastructure and, like, the replayability is there for sure if you wanted to do that. But, like, I feel like by forcing a campaign, you made something that was better off not being created. I don't know if that's too harsh on the nose or what, but, like, I don't know. That's how I feel about it, though. So that's going to wrap it up. Just want to fill you guys in on a little bit of thoughts here that I've been having about Black Ops 7. We're in the middle of doing a couple of different projects here, so, like, admittedly, this was a bit more free form of a video than some of the other stuff and guides and stuff like that we'll have on the channel, but I want to talk to you guys about this and share my opinions. Let me know your thoughts down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, drop a like on it, and of course, if you are new to the channel, Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 7, Battlefield 6, Red Sec, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content. We got you covered here on the channel. A lot up on deck that I'm still excited to share with you guys. So we'd love to have you in the community. For now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. Take care and peace.